Guerrero's right about the shoe. The shoe was not the same in the picture in court as the shoe pulled from the evidence bag by Trooper Bukake.
You mentioned you're at the hospital. There was a sneaker. One.
Yes.
Bukake!
Woo! Good afternoon, my friends. Oh my goodness. It's so good to see you guys. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Veterans Day. And I want to say thank you to all the veterans out there for all of your service, for calling to the line of duty to defend our freedoms, which we hear at the Glare, Turtle Boy Live, Nurse Kim, pretty much everybody who's been covering this, we don't squander these freedoms, or at least we try not to. And so we're grateful for those who put their lives on the line to fight for them. So thank you for that. And thank you, Specially Appointed Prosecutor Robert Cosgrove, for your Civil War service. So yeah, as you can tell, it's cold. But I've got a little space heater here. I'm good to go. We're good. So yeah, today we're today we're gonna I did my little members only clubber walk stream this morning, and I really enjoy those. Like getting to share that little experience with you guys was like a really good idea, man. I mean, I don't know about y'all. I mean, for me, like it's very therapeutic, like to hang out with you guys and walk clubber, because that's just clubber's favorite shit in the world, is taking a walk in the park like that. And so, you guys hanging out with me while I get to do that is pretty cool. So thanks for those of you who are doing that and enjoying it. Excuse me. So, and I'm drinking coffee today, at least just for now. Because this coffee pot has been out of commission. Well, not out of commission, just out of use for the better part of a year. So it needs some cleaning before I start using it, and I didn't give myself enough warning to go live for this. So this was made in the coffee pot in my bedroom. So today, what we're going to talk about, because I was live walking clubber, and I was thinking, like, there's nothing to talk about. If you're wondering why nobody's live, well, there's nothing really to talk about. There's no updates really in Turtle Boys or Karen Reed's case. And so nothing worth doing a whole live stream over. And tomorrow there's this hearing. I don't know. I don't think it's the kind that can be streamed. If it can, then great. I'll try to figure out a way to do it. But if not, then I don't know what to tell you. But today, what we're going to talk about is Alan Jackson's vehicular homicide case that he has in, I think it's Malibu. And what really got my attention about it, not just that it's Alan Jackson, but what really got my attention on this was listening to him explain it to Michael Bryant and Linda Kenny Bodden on Justice Served TV, which I'm going to pull up right now. So we're going to watch that first. I'm going to speed it up too here. So, because there's going to be a lot of like Karen Reed related stuff, which is fine. I don't mind listening to AJ, like I'm good with it. But we are going to speed this up. And listen, disclaimer, I don't have any court documents on this case just yet. We're just basically going to listen to Alan's take on it. I have no reason to distrust Alan Jackson and his word. And since we are a community of innocent until proven guilty, I think we are by now, at least, then we are going to give AJ's client the benefit of the doubt until otherwise. So what I'm going to do is we're going to listen to AJ describe the case. We're just going to watch his interview with Linda and Michael. And as you guys know, if you guys don't know, Linda was just now recently retained by Aiden, Turtle Boy, Mr. Media, and in this New Jersey thing that he's going to be fighting tomorrow. Now, I again, if I could somehow stream it, then I will, but I don't know if I can. And honestly, it's leaning more towards no. But if I can, I will. You know, I don't want anybody to get in trouble. I don't want to, you know. So now, stop what you're doing right now. Stop what you're doing right now. And go and give this video a like. No, wait a second. Not that one. I'm not nobody up here. This one. This one. All right. Now I will give you all a moment to do this. To do so, make sure, take a moment, give it a like, subscribe to Justice Serve TV because you're missing out if you're not subscribed to them. All right. Well, there you go. Yeah, I'm sure most of you already do follow them.
Coming from you, I appreciate that. You know, the best lawyers in the country, the best lawyers in the world are plagiarists by design, right? We see other lawyers do their job, and you try to emulate as best you can while bringing your own design to the courtroom. Nobody can ever, I think the jurors can sniff out somebody who's fake, but you certainly take the advantage of seeing great lawyers in situ in different situations and draw from that as much as you can. And I certainly learned an enormous amount by watching you and trying that very, very, very prominent case against you on national television. So it was a big deal for me to be able to see you at work, and I know I learned a ton from that experience, and hopefully drew a little bit from it and was able to employ it a little bit in Karen's case and other cases.
Yeah, you're very gracious. So let's talk about Karen's civil claims. And I know Michael Bryant has some specific answers because I know you have at least 10 defendants right now. There may be another one. And we've been trying to educate people here about Monell claims and try to explain what they are, because we figure if we educate here, maybe a judge will see it, especially a state court judge who has no idea what a federal claim is, what a Monell claim is, what it means. And also, I know Michael has a question. I'm going to open the floor.
One thing, before we jump into that, one thing I say about the civil case, Alan, is I just hope I'm alive if it ever goes to trial. It is such a long process. Yeah. Those of us who've done more civil than criminal, you know, you get used to the boom, boom, boom of criminal, and that ain't the case here. But before we get to that, and I want to dredge up all the stuff that went on in Karen Read 1 or 2, but are you fascinated by the fact that you can scan right now YouTube, all the YouTube law tubers, and they'll be talking about those cases, and more specifically Karen Read 2, in which she was acquitted of all but the one charge. What's your take on the fascination people have with that case, even now we're 3 months out, not focusing on the civil case for the moment, but just how the minutia of that criminal case seems to fascinate people from day to day? It just doesn't seem to end.
I think probably I've been asked that question a lot. I've thought a lot about that. We've all noodled on that. Why the Karen Read case? Why was that so fascinating? Why did that become sort of the fabric of comment in the internet community and the community at large? And my best guess at that is this could happen to anyone sort of affect of it. Karen Read she wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't well known. She was certainly not sort of nationally high profile or even locally high profile. She was a young woman who went to work every day. She did her job. She went to the university and taught her university class every single night. She had a regular family. She was raised in.
Britt Happens sent me $20 on Cash App just now. Thank you, Britt Happens. Just buy a new coffee pot, she says. I'll probably do that.
Regular town.
Thank
she
you.
had a lot of friends. She was she had a very normal lifestyle. There was nothing out of the ordinary about her. I would suggest, now that I know her very well, I would never call her average. She's an incredibly bright young woman, incredibly intelligent. That's something that just sort of you get that within the first 5 minutes of knowing her, that she's got a level of intelligence that's very extraordinary, not ordinary. But her lifestyle was very ordinary. So I think a lot of people looked at this and said, Jesus Christ, this could be me. This could be my sister. This could be my next door neighbor. Like there was nothing that focused anybody's attention on her specifically.
Dude,
and yet,
you see people like Karen Reed and anybody else fucking all the time because you know, not all of you, but you go to the bar to unwind after a long day's work or, you know, whatever, you know, or you got the day off. You know what I mean? You meet up with some friends. You have a couple drinks. It's the very average thing for an adult to do. So what's the issue?
Yet she goes out for a normal night with her normal boyfriend. They have a normal evening. They have a normal number of drinks, especially for Boston. You know, it's a drink in town. They went out and they got to a location. John gets out of the car and never comes back. And then boom, the guillotine drops. Her life changes completely. The fact that he never came back out of that house and she went on about her business that evening, that's when she didn't realize that things were changing.
Now, I gotta read something here real quick before we keep going. I saw Mama Llama had a real problem with this post, but I'm going to read it out loud real quick. This is from Dr. Turtleboy, Mr. Media. No bus stop live today due to Veterans Day. Speaking of, happy Veterans Day to all who served our great nation, except for these three, which is a picture of Higgy, Bukaki, and Brian Albert. Except for these three who disgraced themselves, their families, and their country by covering up the murder of a beloved police officer and father. Can't say I disagree. Cannot say that I disagree. So, yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't read that out loud. And I'll be honest, I really enjoyed the fact that Mama Llama had such a problem with it. I really fully fucking enjoyed that shit.
Momentarily, almost instantaneously, and she wakes up the next day and everything is topsy-turvy. She felt like she was in Alice in Wonderland. She had gone down a rabbit hole, didn't realize how to get out of it. And then as the revelation started to come, we just kept part of what I think the fascination is that we made a determination early on as a defense team. We were going to keep our foot on the gas. We were never, ever going to just take what the government said at face value. We didn't feel like we could. Anything they said, we checked. Anything they suggested, we verified. Anything they intimated, we double checked or double verified, and had to find out for ourselves. And lo and behold, the more we looked under the rocks and around the corners and in the shadows, the more we realized nothing they're saying makes any sense. Nothing they're saying is true. So it couldn't be verified. There was no truth to what they were saying. There were overt lies, abject lies.
Wait a minute, AJ. Are you suggesting that one would get to the truth by asking questions? By questioning people and things? Radical, AJ.
In things like declarations and affidavits and things of that nature. So as it began to unfold, I think the community's fascination with, well, what happened to this poor police officer who ended up dead in somebody's yard? What does that have to do with us? Well, the fascination became, well, it's a paradigm for it has everything to do with you, because it's a broad-based cover-up for something that could have happened to any one of us. And what the community latched onto was the realization that this is not a one-off. It's not just Karen Reed. There are many Karen Reeds in the past in the greater Boston area that have been subject to this kind of corruption, and nobody seems to want to poke that bear. We poked it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, it's the area I call the Triangle of Terror: Stoughton, Canton, Dedham. And I used to suggest that the Karen Reed case was really a symptom of a much bigger disease, and you guys have done all the shining of the light on that, and that's why the community support is so strong for it. And people can't seem to get enough of it. So with the civil trial at least looming, we know the answer was filed just the other day.
I'm not going to nitpick. I'm not going to nitpick, but we all know that they're not the only ones who poke that bear.
Deal with the likelihood of bringing in third parties.
He knows it too.
So as we indicated to the judge, that's our intention. As a matter of fact, it's more than our intention. That we're pretty much putting the final polish on that. I don't want to give away the farm yet. We'll have that probably filed within the next, I would count it in days, if not hours. It's going to be very soon. There's a lot of very, very smart folks who have been putting a lot of their best efforts into it to make sure that document is highly polished. And then we're going to go in, as we indicated to the court, we're going to go in and ask the judge to allow us to put those two things together at the same time. They're integrated in every single facet of those two documents. The lawsuit of the O'Keefes that Karen Read is defending against is going to include every single bit of the same evidence and the same parties as the potential lawsuit of Karen Read against the players that were mentioned in court the other day. So we believe very strongly that judicial efficiency, judicial economy, common sense, all dictate, and the law dictates that these cases should be together and not separate. Otherwise, we're going to end up on dual tracks, and it's going to make for a very complex, complicated mess of litigation, and there's no need for it. So that's going to be the next moment in court.
So I guess I'll ask Michael Bryan's question. I know he has looming in that head of his. Commissioner Cox is in the news yesterday. You filed a
Yesterday.
You sent a little note.
Sent a little window,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Possibility he could be added as what we call a defendant.
I've said, Linda, many times when I've been asked this question, and I've been somewhat coy and pretty close to the vest about who we intend to focus our attentions on. But I've said over and over, no one and nothing is off the table. And I will say that in answer to this question. Nothing is off the table. It is a hell of a revelation that we just found out. We, as the communal we, right, the royal we, all of us, have just found out concerning
The editorial
Michael Cox.
we,
very
man.
troubling information about his candor to the public, candor to his constituents, candor to his own police force, candor to the people that he's supposed
Now,
to
let me
serve.
hit pause on this real quick because I want to read another thing. I want to get this subject out of the way. So Nikki Haircuts, Nick Rocco, he posts in the next couple of weeks, I'm launching a YouTube show that will give you exclusive access to Karen Read's defense team during the civil trial. This show will mainly feature guests, mostly from the defense team, to break down their motions and discuss what's currently happening in the case. Now, this has stirred some controversy for some reason, and I honestly don't see why. Okay, right on. Great. I love the idea of being absolutely and totally informed to that degree on this civil case. I love that. Awesome for Nick Rocco. I mean, and the fact is Nick Rocco has raised a lot of money for Karen Read as well. I don't know how much he made while doing so. I don't know if he made any. But why shouldn't he benefit from having this access if the team deems it okay? There's no gag order, so right on. Right on. I'll be watching. I will. I mean, I'm definitely going to be finding that to be valuable insight. Nick Rocco did an amazing job while on Court TV. Opposite Plevin, opposite John DePipe, so this is great. This is great.
And that troubling information needs to be brought to the attention of those to whom he reports. And so that's why I pinned the letter that I did.
And just for those who may not know what that letter was about, it had to do with former officer Dever. Never say Dever. And what interaction the commissioner had with her or did not have with her prior to her testimony. Just do the right thing, which of course I'm upset that he stole my tagline. But did he talk to her? Did he not talk to her? And I think he described it in a letter as he's been caught in a lie, and not a small lie.
Correct.
About his contact with her prior to her testimony. I've never used the words Karen Read in a sentence. I mean, he went so over the top to deny any connection that when you did catch him, it's just blatant.
Right. That's exactly right. It's the chutzpah that's so galling. Like just say no comment. If you feel like you're about to step on the third rail and get electrocuted, just say no. I know he wasn't expecting the question. You could tell by his reaction. I think it may have been David Bieniek from Channel 5. Somebody asked a very pointed question. What do you think about this allegation that came out in court?
Yeah. MC Cossie G, specially appointed prosecutor Robert Cosgrove. I mean, I feel that, but here's the thing is I'm not going to be watching to get inspired. I'm going to be watching to get informed. You know what I mean? That's it. I mean, I'm sure she's in good hands.
At least get your ducks in a row. That's the first note for a potential politician or somebody in that position. But nope, in Boston, nope, nobody can touch me. I'm going to say exactly what I want to say, and no one, especially you people, to his constituents, are going to question me about
What
it.
you
Well,
mean, you people, AJ?
There are some questions, and there are some people out there who are going to ask those questions, and we're asking them. And we're asking show.
Well, I'm
you
just going to put number 11 as under my defendants. I'm trying to keep a list as if I were you. You know?
right.
Yeah, the arrogance is outrageous.
That's right. That's exactly the right word for it, Michael. It's just complete abject arrogance. And you have to do, look, if you're going to hold that position, it's a lauded position, a storied position, the head of the Boston Police Department. Are you kidding me? That is a storied position. Be better and do better. Just tell the truth. Show some fealty, show some commitment to your community members and some fealty to the truth. And if you don't, someone just might call you out.
Well, like Officer, don't call me Devers, Dubé. I don't know, but it almost didn't matter. And it sounds to me like now we know where she got her testimony from, at least a minute. And again, I'm not asking you for comment. I'm just telling you, as a member of the sitting public here, who at 6 o'clock at night has to do a show every night, that's how I felt. I thought it was an outrageous moment in court from her, and everyone else saying, oh, well, you know, trying to make the defense appear like they were causing her to commit perjury was also outrageous. Well, guess what, people? You got caught. You know.
And were you surprised at all by that testimony and her demeanor, Alan? Because I've never seen it.
Y'all are some haters in the chat, dude. Like, y'all are like, fuck Nick Rocco. Ah. That's just very funny to me. I mean, listen, dude. Like, full disclosure, you know, I'll be as candid as I can be. I'm definitely not wild about Nick Rocco's display of behavior. Throughout these last few weeks, definitely not. I thought he showed a significant lack of character substance, and you know, it is what it is. But you know, I've never really disliked the guy. You know, I just, you know, am I dismissive of him personally? For sure. At this point, yeah, like I don't trust the guy as far as I can throw him, but it doesn't matter. Like, that's irrelevant here. It's neither here nor there. He's got access to Karen Read's civil team. He's going to have a YouTube channel. I want to see what the civil team has to say. there's no, you know, it is what it is. You know, you don't get to choose where your information comes from. You just got to take the information when you get it. It is what it is. You know, good for him.
No, I'd love to be able to say, oh no, I expected that to come. You know, absolutely no way did I expect that. I had no idea that this young lady, this woman, would comport herself the way that she did on the witness stand. It was, I mean, you could see, but from our interaction, that I was sort of taken. I was back on my heels a bit. I didn't expect that she was going to be incredibly friendly. I didn't think that there was going to be a friendliness, a friendly tone, because she didn't want to be there. She didn't want to testify. But I thought she'd at least tell the truth. I mean, I've got the receipts. I'm staring at a report that has her words in it, written by FBI agents who took an interview. And I was somewhat gobsmacked, the same that everybody else was. And I thought, well, okay, if you want a sword fight, you've pulled out your best weapon. Let's go.
Yeah. And then she mentions FBI after the Judge Canoni was like, you can't mention that agency here. They don't exist. There's
the organization.
Yes. Some organization. Yeah, organization, right.
Okay, one more question on her.
I will never get my head around that.
Do you think she came up with that memory issue, or it was given to her?
It was so outrageously stupid, quite frankly. I'm looking for a better word, for a more educated word. It was just dumb to try to say that you have you're sitting on a witness stand as a professional witness. That's what you do for a living. You're a professional witness. You serve the community, you serve the public, you solve crimes, you catch the bad guys, supposedly, and then you come to court and you testify professionally. They're taught how to testify. And as a professional witness, the best she could come up with is, I suffer from false memories. What? So,
I mean, look at Linda. Like, this is a fantastic point. I think I went over this the last time I went over this, which is, yeah, like, you're taught. That's your job. Everything that a police officer does is prelude to them testifying in court to put the person away. Like, an arrest is merely prelude to a trial. No, that person might plead out, but without the court system, there is no arrest. Without due process, there is no arrest. So, you know, in the police academy, of course, they're going to teach them, this is what you do. Everything that you do leads up to you. Every decision you make is under the assumption that you're going to have to sit in court and testify to it. Every report you write is going to be evidence presented in court. Everything. Why wouldn't they cover that in the police academy? Of course, they're going to cover that in the police academy. So exactly. Alan Jackson is absolutely correct in saying that's what they're taught. They're professional witnesses. That's what they're supposed to be testifying better and more professionally than anyone else who takes that witness stand. A regular witness doesn't know what they're doing. They're depending on you to walk them through whatever. They're like, okay, judge, yes, I'll speak louder. You know, a cop is supposed to already know. A cop is supposed to sit there and just be like, you know, and look at the jury and speak up, you know, articulate their words. And, you know, that's what they're taught to do.
Linda, your look, that's exactly the look. I wish I'd been able to do that. Like, if I was standing with a camera in my face, I got to comport myself.
Right. I can do this. You can't. Couldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought, wait a minute, did I just hear you correctly? You suffer from false memories? That's your excuse? So no, I was not expecting that, Michael.
Well, and then of course you nailed her by saying, you know, that's your reputation, right? Your job is to testify in these cases. And of course, everybody at that point knew. Missy, can you pull up the video of me saying that? No, everybody knew that she's done. This girl is done. She will not be a cop. She may be a target security guard, but she's done. And sure enough, she's done. So
I think I know someone says, you remember what I called her? I can't say what I called her right now. This is a family show tonight. We're trying to do family, but I did have some choice words for her because I couldn't.
Normally, I do have Turtle Boys Defense Fund link pinned to the top. And that's still in the description. So, you know, if you can, obviously help. But at the same time, I just, you know, I really want to push for Kelsey Fitzsimmons. So that's why I pinned her link to the top of the chat for this one. So if you can find it in your heart to help her out, that would be great. Very much appreciated. But again, like I said, Turtle Boys Defense Fund is in the description as always.
I think that helped in a way because there was all this collectiveness out there of podcasters and streamers because the regular media wasn't really covering it. That had a collective sigh and a collective calling her out, and I think that also, we had a swear jar for Linda, is what people are saying. Yeah, I was absolutely. But you know, we know what you were feeling because it was so outrageous and it was so ridiculous and it was so terrible and it was so over the top, and obviously the jury got it too, which is the most important thing. Sometimes I tell people if you're over the top with your testimony, you know, the jury's sitting there, they're regular people, they get it, you know.
They're far from stupid. I've often said, I say two juries a lot of times that in a closing argument, that if the average age on a jury is some 40, 42 years old or something, there's 550, 560 years of living experience sitting in that box. You're smarter than any one person in this courtroom, including the judge, bless his or her heart.
All right. So with that, I'm going to start turning this over to you and the other Michael on the panel, and you're going to bring in, I assume, you're going to bring in Jacqueline, right?
Jacqueline Sperania is my associate, and she's my co-counsel on this case. She's been working the case from day one. She knows everything there is to know top to bottom about this case, and so I thought it made sense if we're going to discuss the case to have her come on board and visit with us about it, so she could add her opinions about it as well, and some thoughts that she wants to add or include. Melinda, I couldn't agree more on both of the counts that you just mentioned, both of the statements that you just made. Number one, first and foremost, I'm a father. I'm a father of a little girl. I know 4 lives were lost, and my heart aches and breaks for the families of those victims. So does Frazier's. So does his parents. Everybody in my office that's touched this case or works on this case feels the exact same way. There is no word or phrase that we can come up with, and we get paid by the word as lawyers. There is no word, there's no phrase that we can come up with that adequately defines the amount of loss that the community and their families have suffered in their death. So with that said, this is not an issue of ignoring the devastation or the tragedy that befell those families. We never ignore that. However, there is a fifth tragedy that can and has begun to occur in this case. A fifth tragedy that is, it's resolvable, it's solvable, and that is overcharging Frazier with 4 counts of murder. This is not a murder case. It has never been a murder case. The prosecution's theory of implied malice, as you indicated, we can get into it as much as you want to, as much granular detail as you want to, but their theory of implied malice murder is that there has to be a number. There is a speed at which that alone equals implied malice, and that is ridiculous. We do not define under Watson, or Watson is the case, as you know.
Now, this is why I want to start talking about this case, okay? Because AJ swears up and down that there's no malice in this case whatsoever, and I don't believe there is. I have no reason to believe that there is, at least not as of yet. There seems to be absolutely no motive, and you have, and he's arguing the science just like he did with Karen Reed's case. He's arguing the science. He's saying there has to be a speed. He didn't even reach that speed. So, I'm very, very interested in this case for this reason, because he seems very, very passionate about this. And this is a complicated case. This is one of those cases where people are going to be afraid to fuck with it. People are going to be afraid to fuck with it because you've got 4 young people whose lives were lost in this, and you don't want to come off like you're not being sympathetic towards those victims. This is how any YouTuber with a large platform is going to look at this, aside from Turtle Boy, really. But this is normally the safe bet is, ooh, you know, I don't want to come off, you know, this is touchy. This is one of those, I got to play it safe kind of things if you're going to cover it. And you know me, I like to play in the mud a little bit. I like to get muddy. And the thing is I'm just asking questions at this phase. Okay. I am taking the stances I've always done with every case. I am going into this thinking innocent until proven guilty, until I have reason to really go, ooh, yikes. And I'm not getting an ooh, yikes yet from this kid. Frazier, I believe his name is. And again, I don't know anything about this case, but I want to refresh my memory on how passionate Alan Jackson seems to be about this, because he is adamant about his client's innocence.
Very limited circumstances bring an implied malice murder to a vehicular manslaughter case, to a case involving the death of an individual vis-a-vis a car accident.
I look at this and I say, this is not Brian Koberger, okay? And I know
Right.
It's just not Brian Koberger. This kid was not drinking, no drugs, no alcohol. He had the same car I think I read for like 5 years, never a speeding ticket. And I look at this and yes, I know the loss. Again, just like you, I am a mother, we are parents. So.
How is this not going to pique your interest? The kid has no history of even a bad driving record, much less he wasn't drinking. He wasn't under the influence of anything, including weed, where it's legal in California. He wasn't under the influence of anything. I can't imagine a kid his age in California who isn't at least taking edibles. It's fascinating to me. So he's charged with vehicular manslaughter on 4 people. Why?
My husband's lost a child. We know what it's like to be in a situation where you lose a child. But there's a time that the law has to step in and 16 hours to decide again that this is malice murder. It's just not it. Where's the reconstruction? I want to see that first. I want to see everyone interviewed. I want to see
Donkey's Noggin.
Thank
you so much.
Podcaster out
Remember
here.
for 3 months.
Jacqueline, let me ask you a couple questions. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. I'm from California. I've been on that road many times. Horrible road in general. PCH. It's beautiful, but there's a lot of distractions to begin with the Grand Pacific Ocean, and I think that contributes to how dangerous that road is. How is that going to factor into this case, do you think, for the defense, and how, if at all, would the prosecution use that?
So PCH is notorious for being a dangerous road.
Can I ask what it is for people?
Pacific Coast Highway, which is number 1, and it's the road that takes you to Malibu. You go across the canyons, either Topanga. I was off Laurel Canyon myself. So it's that road that is as far west as you can be without being in the ocean, and you've seen all those $10 million homes right along the road there.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead,
dude. Okay.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me.
Like, I already know the road that they're talking about. Like, they use it all the time. When you see a movie that takes place in Los Angeles, and I mean, fucking, you could throw a stone blindfolded and hit a movie that was filmed in LA and takes place in LA, right? And you always see that road because it looks really nice. It's off of a fucking cliff. There's a fucking cliff, and then there's ocean right to the left of it, the west of it, right? Just like when you see a shot of Miami, right? It's always that spot coming from the ocean, and then you see like the Clevelander and blah, blah, blah. And that's really like the only fucking spot in Miami that looks like that, which is really funny. It's very misleading. It makes everybody go, oh my God, I got to go to Miami. That place looks amazing. I mean, it's okay, you know, but that's really, you know, it's not a Miami Vice episode. Gerda K gifted a membership. Thank you so much. Oh my God. But yeah, like every time I see, there's always just a shot of somebody with their top down and the wind blowing and they're wearing sunglasses and they're driving down that fucking road. Right? Like I so many movies, guarantee you there's more than one shot in lethal in each Lethal Weapon movie, in each Lethal Weapon installment of the whole franchise. I guarantee it. Fast and Furious for sure. Yeah. Just name a movie takes place in LA. You'll see that shot of a car driving down that road. And I always look at it and go, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, I wonder how many cars, end up going off that cliff and into the fucking water. That's crazy.
This evening, PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, is known notoriously as a very dangerous road. And there are certain parts of PCH that are more dangerous than others. And in particular, there's one stretch of roadway that is at issue in this case, literally called Dead Man's Curve. And you can actually pull what's called Switter's reports, which are reports of other accidents that have been reported on that exact stretch of roadway. And you'll find that in a 0.8 mile distance, that there have been dozens and dozens of accidents, as well as fatal accidents on that exact stretch of roadway. And none of those people who were involved in those accidents were ever charged with murder. And in those in some of those cases, there'll be instances where the driver will be intoxicated, speeding, committing conduct that is far more egregious than what our client did. And even in those
Hold on.
cases, they're not charged with murder, but rather
Wait, let me
they're charged with vehicular manslaughter. And so
so this kid's charged with fucking murder. Okay. And she's saying that dangerous is notorious for being dangerous. That road is notorious for being dangerous. People, hold on. Wait 1 second.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad.
How dare you?
Denise Hoover, thank you so much. Mind Explosion. Haircuts and Aiden have a symbiotic relationship. The movement is Aiden and Karen. If it is love or hate or somewhere in between, who cares? They are in it together till death do us part. Okay, I mean, you might be right about that. I don't know. But thank you so much, Denise Huber. Appreciate that. So yeah. Jacqueline here, Jaqueline, is making is making an excellent point. She's saying that all of these other cases, that road is notorious for being dangerous. That there are so many accidents that take place, so many deaths that take place from accidents on that road by people who were intoxicated, all of these things, and it never exceeds a vehicular homicide charge. Nobody's ever charged with murder. Nobody. And this kid didn't do any of these things that all of these other people have done that were never charged with murder. So why the murder charge?
So in this case, it's important to point out that in a murder case, you have to show that the defendant subjectively knew that what he was doing was going to cause great bodily injury or death to another person. And by showing all of these other actions that have occurred and how if all of these other people are getting into these actions and they're not being charged with murder, our client should not be either. And so it's
so
how the road is.
To dovetail onto Jackie's point, I think it's important for your viewers to understand what implied malice murder requires, at least in California. It requires two things. Number one, an act. The first thing is the act whose natural and probable consequences involve a high probability of, now listen to the end of this sentence, whose natural and probable consequences involve a high probability of death, not high probability of great bodily injury, but of death. So they must prove that the act itself has a natural and probable consequence of which is that it involves a high probability of death. And number two, the second prong is that the proof that there has to be proof that the defendant in this case actually.
First of all, John the Sharts, okay, you don't need to yell, okay? You don't need to have the whole fucking with all the fucking all caps shit. You calm down, relax. Second, the question isn't so much, I mean, in part, yeah, okay. The question is, why is it in California? That's one question. Nobody's questioning that that's the case. We're questioning why is it in California, but more importantly, why hasn't anyone else been charged with murder is the question. You're not listening. I need you to fucking open your goddamn ears, John the Sharts. Okay? Pay attention, because John the Sharts, John the Sharts, calm down. Ask the right questions. We're asking questions here, okay? Nobody's jumping to any fucking conclusion. Relax.
Really appreciated that death level risk in the circumstances, and then consciously disregarded that death level risk. And they say, going at a particular speed, they don't define the speed. They haven't defined the speed. They won't say, well, it's 98 or 96 or 97 or 104 or 73.
So how are you going to charge a kid with murder when you can't even define how fast he was going? He has nothing in his system. He wasn't under the influence of shit. So how are you going to charge him with murder? You don't even know how fucking fast he was going. So John the Sharts, what you said is fucking irrelevant, because he was charged with murder, and you're saying he could have, if he was going over 100 miles per hour, well then cool. But they don't know. They haven't given an exact number of how fast he was going. So there goes your bullshit right there. Quit yelling.
don't define a speed. They just say, Judge, just variably, there's a speed above which we meet the threshold for implied malice murder. And it's just not true, Linda. It's just not true. They don't have a case that they can point to like this that's ever been prosecuted as a murder. The Watson murders always include, if they're based on speed in any way, shape, form, or fashion, they always include another factor: speed and you're drunk, speed and you're racing, speed and you're street demonstrating, meaning the drifting and going in circles and street racing and such. Speed and you're on drugs. Never, to our knowledge, never in the history of the district attorney's office have they ever charged speed alone as the conduit to murder. And our question is, are you, and it is a valid question. Our question to the DA's office is, are you using emotion rather than law as the determining factor for your charging decision in this case? And I get the emotion. I get it. There's a reason, and I've said this before, there is a reason why we don't allow in this country private prosecutions. Back in the old days, back in England, before we came to this country, before we had a constitution, there were such things as private prosecutions. You were lord of a manor, someone offended you by stealing a horse or cattle or something, and you got to prosecute that person. Well, the reason we don't allow that is because it necessarily
because there's bias. Like, of course we're not going to allow that in a fucking in a fucking free country. We're never going to allow that. What? That's completely unfair. Of course. Dude, you fucking stole from me. It wasn't me. Well, I think it was you. Sit down, you're on trial. Guilty. Guilty. That's why we don't do that, bro. It's like, what? You stole my horse. No, I didn't. I think you did. Sit down. How do you plead? Not guilty. Guilty. Over. That's it. It's done. Of course we don't fucking allow that shit. Alicia, thank you so much for the Venmo, $5. Looking fly as fuck, Will, aka LOG Hefe, aka Drip Lord. Believe that shit. And love your hoodie. Thank you so much. And Britt sent $5 just now. And says Road Rage Guy is the Jen McCabe of this case. Road Rage Guy. Oh yeah, Road Rage Guy. We haven't gotten to him yet. We'll get to all that. We're gonna explore this shit, but unfortunately, I gotta go with court TV shit and all that. But at least we get to hear it from AJ's mouth here to some degree. Sandra Kish, welcome to Logic. Thank you so much for joining. Look at Nat King Coleslaw. I don't even know what the fuck that's fucking. Wow. You should educate yourself before espousing a stupid opinion. Listen, that's exactly what I'm doing, asshole. What do you think we do here, bro? We educate ourselves together. Now, I'm not going to form a full-on opinion, but I'm forming an opinion right now on whether or not the facts on the case or what he's saying are true or not. I don't know if they're true or not, but based on what AJ's saying, and if I'm presuming innocence before guilt, well, then I'm going to defend these points. I mean, you're sitting up here and you're like, learn the facts before. So you're mad because I'm not presuming guilt right off the bat? You're mad because I'm not going, this fucking kid totally did it. Give me a reason to think that he didn't. No, that's not how we do things here. In America, on the Glare, where we are a patriotic channel, we presume innocence.
Bias and emotion, and it takes all objectivity away. And I fear that in this case, that objectivity has been lost because of the devastating emotion of the 4 lives lost, which are devastating. But the two things have to exist on separate planes. One is we grieve and are horrified by the loss and the devastation for these victims and these families. On the other side of it is, what is the conduct that we are criminalizing? It is not murder.
And then one of the things I wanted to ask, actually 2 things with regard to that. It would seem under the prosecution's theory that if you have an accident that involves a death on there, and we know there's been some high-profile individuals that have had accidents that involve death in that.
And never been charged with murder.
Never been charged with murder. Isn't it that any speed then would be dangerous? So what do you selectively pick the speed of this kid for some reason because of the amount of people that were huddled together? I also think that they got a problem, Alan, with...
Yes, the question that we're asking here is whether or not it's murder. That's it. We're questioning whether or not it's murder. We're not denying, nobody here is denying the fact that this kid drove and crashed and the impact killed 4 people. Nobody's denying that. Nobody's questioning that. The question is whether or not he should be charged with murder over it. That's why we're here.
The reconstruction. I looked at the pictures. I think I mentioned
it.
Right.
There is no
There's no reconstruction before this charge. And even if you look at the pictures, what they're saying happened doesn't comport with the pictures of Frazier's car, if I may call it Frazier. All right. And that's just, I looked at that in preparation to try to prepare for my interview of you. I don't see it. So who decided that it's going to be just the speed? And because you have cars that are parked there. Maybe they shouldn't have been parked there. You have something chasing him, he says. I kind of believe him after I look at and read the probable cause hearing, which you did.
Is that why this is going so well? Because she actually prepared for this interview? I'm the worst.
Not do, or the preliminary hearing, I guess you call it in California.
Right.
Called the preliminary hearing, which you did not do. That when we look at it as lawyers, usually in for instance murder cases, and somebody says, I saw somebody at that scene, and it turns out that the murderer is really the person who's the witness. I get a little antsy.
Should it even be manslaughter though? I'm questioning that. I'm questioning whether or not it should even be manslaughter. Okay, he killed 4 people. Now, whether or not he was driving recklessly, that remains to be seen as well. Because there's a third culprit here, folks. There's a third factor in all this. You have the 4 people, and then you have Frazier, and then you have the road rage guy. So what if the road rage guy distracted him and it was just an accident?
Anyone, I'm just saying that's out there in this case.
Okay, man. There's no need to be so fucking upset, bro. Okay. I get that 4 people are dead. So why aren't you mad at the road rage guy? You know what I mean? If there was a road rage guy, why aren't you demanding they find out who this guy is if they don't know who he is? I mean, what are you so mad at me for? What are you mad at this Frazier kid for? Sarah Be Creative, thank you so much, member, for 9 months. Happiest Glare anniversary. Yes. Right. Nobody's saying it's not tragic. We're just trying to get to the facts of the case.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the question to your very pointed, the answer to your very pointed question is Who did the reconstruction? Nobody did the reconstruction. We've gotten all the evidence. They never did a formalized reconstruction. A reconstruction, an accident scene reconstruction, vehicular homicide reconstruction is a very, very, very specific thing. It's a specific animal. There are professionals out there.
Okay, so just a second there, Professor. You're telling me that they're charging somebody with murder, killed 4 people. Now, these people, this Nat King Coleslaw and this John Schartz, I mean, you guys are so mad about the death of these 4 people, but you're only mad at this guy because he was the one driving and he's charged. But you're not questioning anything. What about the road rage guy? And why would they charge somebody with murder? Why aren't you mad at law enforcement for not conducting a thorough investigation? How are you going to charge somebody with a quadruple murder and you're not going to do an accident reconstruction? You're not going to try to reconstruct the accident in your investigation? That's murder investigation 101. Candace Hoff, thank you, member for 4 months. Woohoo! 4 whole months. Hell yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, let's just call this what it is. So far, this is all sloppy. And then you get Action Jackson on this shit, man. Like, you're fucking up. Don't let him catch you slipping like that.
There who do it. There's protocols to follow. There are formulas to follow. And none of that was done in this case. I think what happened was, like I said, I think emotion took over. They had these 4 young ladies who were deceased. They had a young man who they could say, they could put him behind the wheel. And they said, King's X, you're done. You're done. And we're going to charge these as homicides in no small part. And by the way, it was not this DA. The sitting DA here, Nathan Hochman, was not the person who was in charge when this case was filed. It was a guy named George Gascon. And there's all kinds of political reasons why George Gascon, I believe, decided to charge this case as it was charged. He was in the middle of a very, very heated political campaign in which he was being accused of being soft on crime. I mean, that was the real
Alan Jackson
slogan that Nathan Hochman was.
Is not so subtly right now accusing this prosecutor of charging this Frazier kid, overcharging him for political motivation. Like it's completely politically motivated. He's not so subtly basically accusing him of this, which is pretty fascinating.
Using to really define George Gascon. Well, what was the best way that he could in October 2023? What was the best way that he could bat that back and battle against that accusation? Let's charge Frazier Bone with 4 counts of murder. How about that for being soft on crime? And Frazier's having to carry that water because of George Gascon's decision, which I believe, in my heart of hearts, was a political decision. And none of the hard data,
there it is.
Even the EDR data, they downloaded.
I mean, there it is. I believe in my heart of hearts that this was a political decision.
Data using an outdated CDR, an outdated.
Now, I'm not saying that it is. I'm just merely pointing out the fact that the defense attorney in this case is very high profile defense attorney in this case. Arguably the most celebrated defense attorney in the world right now is saying that he believes in his heart of hearts that this is a politically motivated prosecution.
Program that was literally in the download said that we are limited in our data analysis. We, the downloading software, we can only do so much. We're very limited in the analysis that we can undertake. And that's where they get the speed that they claim was 104 miles an hour, which they now are sort of questioning because their own expert at that probable cause hearing, the preliminary hearing, admitted that when the wheels come off the ground, that can badly distort that very EDR data that they're now relying on. There's lots and lots of problems with this case.
So when the wheels come off the ground, which they most likely did at a high speed, you can't come to that conclusion because it becomes distorted. That data becomes distorted once the wheels come off the ground. You cannot get an accurate data of how fast the car was going. So the 104 miles per hour determination is not solid. Farrah Brennan, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate it.
That could have and should have been
welcome to Logic
by the prosecution, by their own investigation, but now we're having to do that, and it's coming at extreme cost to us, not just financial cost, but just labor cost for us to do. But we're going to do it. We're going to get to the truth of the matter, and we're going to fight against these murder charges until we don't have a breath left in us. If this case, and I've said this before as well, if this case were charged as what it should be, a manslaughter case, vehicular manslaughter case. I'll defend that all day long. What I don't want is to have an inappropriate legal argument propounded by the prosecution. Prosecution's a behemoth. The government, especially here in Los Angeles, they're a behemoth. There is no resource they don't have. They're massive. They're massive. And Frazier is having to fight at this point against 4 charges that just do not hold. They are not legal charges. And that's the scary part of this case.
Alan, you answered my first question. That was the Gascon versus Hochman, right? Totally
That's
different
the
philosophies.
issue.
And we know Gascon got blown out of the water and he's no longer.
That's also an issue in Aiden's case. How did AJ word that?
They're massive. They're massive. And Frazier is having to fight at this point against 4 charges that just do not hold. They are not legal charges. And that's the scary part of this case.
Alan, you answered.
Not legal charges. Just because the law's there doesn't make them legal charges. Not according to our Constitution, not according to our Bill of Rights. It's not, it just isn't there. That's what Aiden is dealing with right now, a very unconstitutional law. This is why this is so disturbing. Do you guys understand that? Like, this is something that I feel like we need to really, really keep in our core of what drives us in following these cases, especially Aiden's case. We're so invested in Aiden's case. What we need to focus on is the core of that, in which what's scary, the most scary thing about Aiden's case is that a law was applied. And according to that law, Aiden broke it. That's true. Because it basically says if you hurt someone's feelings, if you cause someone emotional distress and you hurt somebody's feelings who's a potential witness, well, then you could be charged with witness intimidation. That is disturbing. That in and of itself is disturbing. What we need to remember is that there is actually a law in place that robs Massachusetts residents of their freedom of speech. It's very important that we keep this in mind. This is what Aiden is fighting against. He's not just fighting against some dirty cops. Yeah, that's more fun to look at that way. You know, it gives it more of a dramatic flair. But I find it much more dramatic that there is an actual legit law that is being weaponized, that is completely unconstitutional in the very birthplace of the concept of our justice system today and what it's supposed to be and what it's designed to do, which is to protect everyone's rights, everyone's God-given human rights. Our justice system was designed to do that. So why is there a law in Massachusetts that allows Aiden to be thrown in jail for simply asking questions, for doing what a journalist is supposed to do?
My first question, that was the Gascon versus Hochman, right? Totally different philosophies, and we know Gascon got blown out of the water, and he's no longer a factor. Has there been any contact with the new DA, Mr. Hochman? Has there been any approach by his office to do something with this case?
Not personally. I have not spoken with Nathan Hochman, about this at all. There may come a time when we ask for an audience with Mr. Hochman. That hasn't happened yet. I don't like to do anything sort of half-baked. I want to make sure that I have as much information at my fingertips as possible before I do suggest such a meeting. And if such a meeting is in order, which I think very likely it will be, I would expect that Nathan Hochman would accept that audience and at least sit down and listen to me. That's what he's known for doing. He's known as being very reasonable, and my hope is that he sort of follows that same protocol with us in this case.
Do you think, Jackie, may I call you Jackie?
Sure.
Do you think that because he was driving the type of car which appalls me, because I drove one, a Porsche, or because he's viewed as
BMW.
It's a BMW. It's in the Black Forest, but different car.
BMW, okay, BMW. And do you think that because he's looked at as preppy or more on the wealthy side, that has anything to do with what you have to do as a lawyer? I'll throw it to you, Alan, and to Jackie.
That's a great question. So Linda's asking, like, do you think it's going to be harder to sell to a jury that this kid is innocent if he's going to come off like one of the fucking Murdochs? You know, totally fucking spoiled. He's driving a Beamer. He's totally entitled. He's got everything handed to him. Is that how a jury is going to perceive him? Do you have this obstacle? Do you feel like you have this obstacle to overcome as defense attorneys? It's a great question.
Yeah, I think that, the media isn't really helpful in this department because every headline is rich kid in Malibu mowed down 4 beautiful girls. And so
well, let's see what we can do about that, Jay Quillen.
Having to unravel that by explaining what really happened here. And I believe that the filing decision also, it was just, he was an easy scapegoat in the moment. If you actually look at the facts, it's so much more than what the headline is showing. And so, yes, that has been a little bit difficult to sort of unravel, but we're starting to.
And it's not like, Linda, it's not like he was out on some joyride. I mean, this isn't a kid coming home from a party late at night, drunk, high, a bunch of kids in the car.
Which is always the story.
Speed racing. This is a young man who
which is always the story, that or drag racing. Yeah. Like
is driving from Santa Monica down PCH, to your point, Michael, down PCH, or actually up north on PCH, toward Malibu, with food in his car seat. He had gotten some tacos to go over to a friend's house to celebrate that person's birthday. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't high. He had his BAC was tested at the time 0.00.
And he cooperated. Let me throw that in.
Let me dispel a rumor that's been out there that the media has loved to sort of suggest that he tried to flee. That is, I know it's a family show, but it's Michael. Can I say bullshit?
You can't say bullshit.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. He did not try to flee. He was literally concussed. He had a concussion.
Can I say
from the impact?
bullshit?
The car door comes open, and he's still sitting in the driver's seat when a guy named Victor Calandra comes up to the driver's seat and physically pulls him out and threatens him. And when I say pulls him out, I don't mean pulls him out to render aid. I mean pulls him out to scream at him, yell at him, call him MF, and every name under the sun, and drag him.
Yeah, so this road rage asshole aggressively drags this kid out of the car, not to render aid, not to be like, hey, are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm going to fucking hurt you. I'm so fucking mad at you. I'm going to pull you out of this fucking wreckage and I'm going to hurt you.
Over to the curb and forcibly sit him down there, which he never moved from. This young man never tried to flee. He wasn't texting on his phone. We know this because we got his phone. We got the data from him. He wasn't texting. He wasn't emailing. He wasn't looking at a video. He wasn't on YouTube. He wasn't high. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't.
All of the variables, dude. Listen to this shit. All of the variables as to why someone might be negligent, and it could be even a manslaughter charge.
This young man never tried to flee. He wasn't texting on his phone. We know this because we got his phone. We got the data from him. He wasn't texting. He wasn't emailing. He wasn't looking at a video. He wasn't on YouTube. He wasn't high. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't nothing. There were other factors involved that led to this incident, this terrible, tragic accident. And one of those factors was he was being harassed by someone engaged in road rage. Someone who, by the way, notably has a history of road rage on that street in that city. He was trying to get away. He had there's elements of PTSD that Frazier suffered from because he had friends in the past who had passed away from speed incidents, vehicular incidents, a terrible accident. He wanted to get away from this person, so he speeds up to create distance between himself and the person whom he believed wanted to bring him harm. And in so doing, another car drifts over into his lane, connects with his car, sends him over the lane. And on PCH, Michael, to your point on this dead man's curve, the cars parked legally on the side of the road are within 8 inches. Maybe if it's a really, really small car, 10 inches from the yellow line separating traffic, generally going at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour from static cars parked on the side of the road. It is unbelievably unsafe, just in general. And so it doesn't take much to be bumped, distracted, hit on the left side of your car, look to your left, around that curve, and drift 6 or 8 or 10 inches to the right. And next thing you know, you make contact with the parked car and the conflagration.
So the argument here is that, if I'm hearing AJ correctly, the argument here is that he was hit. He was hit and then ended up hitting hitting the other car. I mean, if that's the case, then shit.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat. Super cat. Super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat.
How dare you?
Captain Skidmarks, thank you so much. A lot of DAs and blue districts decide to charge based on the restorative justice model. A legal migrant with no license would get a lesser charge. Yeah, you might be right. Thank you so much, Captain Skidmarks. Good to see you.
Yeah.
And by the way, that car that hit him fled the scene, which no one talks about.
Well, we're talking about it tonight.
Okay,
That's
so
what we wanted to have you
the
on.
car that hit Frazier that caused the accident fled the scene. That right there, I mean, you need to find out who the fuck that guy was. I mean, I think they know. Don't they know? We'll find out. We've still got more to go over here. And again, guys, I apologize. I like to go over documents. I don't have any documents on this case. So like I'd love to go over the police report, all of that shit. I just don't have it available. If I get a hold of it, obviously I'm going to go into it. But my intention is to do a deep dive into this case. Today's not going to be a deep dive. Today's just we're kind of getting our feet wet. But I'm very fascinated. I'm very interested in this case.
Discuss this because, as I said to Alan Day as I was talking to him, I looked at this and I see massive issues here, and yet I still see a tragedy. And you can have both. You can have a tragedy of 4 deaths and a tragedy of somebody, as we just discussed, being wrongfully charged. I mean, we see it all the time. We see wrongful convictions all the time. Just because somebody died, you have to get the right charges if you're going to charge somebody, and you have to have a crime. Sometimes it's not even a crime.
Right. Correct.
Jackie, let me ask you, because this is so important. We're talking about the charges, murder versus manslaughter. That break it down for us. Give us the numbers. What are you fighting against here? With the difference of these 2 charges?
I mean, he's facing 4 counts of 25 to life on the 4 counts of murder.
4 life terms, 4 consecutive life terms.
Versus a more appropriate manslaughter charge, if there is going to be a charge, which is what is it in California? I forgot. 5 years.
It depends on the level of manslaughter. There are different types of manslaughter, but it would be a determinate sentence in the range of anywhere from. I mean, look, there's misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter as well, which by the way necessarily includes the death of another human being. Misdemeanor manslaughter, any manslaughter includes the death of another human being, and the legislature included that. So it could be anything from a year in jail to 16 months, 2 years, or 3 years, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years in jail. It's a significant difference depending upon the evidence and the facts that are brought forth, and then what he's ultimately convicted of. It's a massive, life-changing difference fighting a manslaughter case than fighting these murder charges. The murder charges, his life is over. Goes to prison for the rest of his life. Dies in jail.
And there's some people that will want that because they'll look at, as you said, the 4 deaths. But you have to look at, you're in the criminal justice system to do right by everybody. To me, the fact that he has no drugs, no alcohol is huge to me. It is absolutely enormous.
No prior warnings. He had never had as much as a traffic ticket,
right,
let alone a speeding ticket. He never rolled through a stop sign. No intoxication, no prior warnings through the court system. Watson was built on the premise that a person who's been warned through the court system, because they've got a prior DUI, they've got a prior accident, including a great bodily injury of an individual, injury to other human life, et cetera. They've been warned and usually prosecuted previously, and then they go out and do it again and completely ignore the risk and do the same thing again. That's when we can up the ante under the Watson case to murder. But in this case, none of that exists. No intoxication, no speeding, no braggadocio or defiance, after the fact, which some of the cases have, who cares? I was just speeding, it's no big deal, and they ran over someone in a crosswalk. Like those kinds of facts don't exist here.
And we don't even know if the speed exists. Everybody speeds on that road. That's not the issue.
Everybody speeds on that road. I was on that road this past weekend for a drive with a friend of mine, and I was getting blown off the road by people speeding on that curve, that 0.8 of a mile curve that Jackie was just talking about.
Yeah.
It looks like Frazier Bowman is in great hands with both of you. No doubt about that. There's absolutely just unbelievable. But before we let you go, okay, because we know what's happening, Michael Bryant would like to speak to you about.
I got an issue. I got an issue.
I took a screenshot from China TV because I don't want to get dinged for any on YouTube for any copyright issues.
So, Alan, you're a Dodgers fan. You said you were at the game last night, so God bless you. Good for you.
Okay. All right. So like when AJ was getting fucking sped by, he was going, "Hey, fuck you!" He was yelling at people, "Hey, fuck you!" Yeah. AJ didn't take that shit. Hold on. Let's go over real quick. Let me go over this. A little local news thing here, because the local news isn't doing shit, just like Alan Jackson's co-chair in this case mentioned.
Breaking news right now. A judge
Jacqueline.
has just denied a motion to dismiss murder charges in the 2023 deaths of a group of sorority sisters killed along PCH in Malibu.
Eyewitness News reporter Irene Cruz is live outside the Van Nuys courthouse with the very latest on today's key hearing. Irene.
Yeah, Mark Conley, good morning. We have been watching this case very closely for the past couple of weeks.
Have you, though?
That driver, 23-year-old Frazier Baum, is in court right now as we speak. He is, as you mentioned, accused of killing those 4 Pepperdine students along PCH. And today really could have been pivotal here. I mean, his lawyers have asked for the murder charges to be thrown out. And as you mentioned, we've just learned that motion was denied. Earlier, we watched as Baum and his attorney Alan Jackson walked into the Van Nuys courthouse. Baum is accused of speeding and crashing into several parked cars on PCH, which hit and killed the 4 Pepperdine sorority sisters. Baum was charged with murder, vehicular manslaughter, and more. His lawyers argued prosecutors went too far. They said he was not under the influence of drugs or alcohol, wasn't using his phone, and he was trying to get away from a road rage driver. Now, a potential witness to the road rage incident is currently in court as well. There has been some arguing back and forth by the attorneys over this.
Okay, so there's a witness to the road rage.
Asking for the witness's phone, car, and computer records.
You hear that, Shart?
An expert has also been called on about extracting info from an iPhone, and we are waiting to hear more details on what's happening there. And back out here live, as you can see, we have cameras and the press set up here because we are expecting a press conference here shortly after Baum and his attorney exit the courthouse so we can learn more details about what happened in front of a judge. And again, that request to have the murder charges that the defense wanted, that motion has been denied. Reporting live in Van Nuys, Irene Cruz, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Irene, thank you.
A crush of cameras today outside this California courthouse.
How you feeling?
All eyes on the 24-year-old accused of a tragedy that claimed the lives of 4 young Pepperdine University students. Frazier Michael Bowen, charged with their murders, flanked by his family and his high-powered attorney.
Are you hoping to get the murder charge dropped to felony manslaughter?
That's why we're here today.
This motion before the court is the latest in the case that has continued to torment the victims' families and friends.
I still feel pain, but that kind of pain is something that you can't even imagine, something that you can't even put into words.
The Pacific Coast Highway, or PCH,
Look, see, there it
runs
is.
along the ocean in Malibu, California, home to surfers, celebrities, and multi-million-dollar homes. The Pacific Coast Highway, and what some call Dead Man's Curve in particular, has long been decried as dangerous. Since 2014, at least 61 people have died on the 21-mile stretch of the highway that runs through Malibu, which includes Dead Man's Curve. In 2024, the mayor of
I hope I don't get dinged on this.
Malibu announcing a task force to combat the issue.
Because I don't know. I know like things like Dateline in 2020. I don't know about Nightline though.
Malibu and PCH.
Since the accident, I had a person driving 112, the car was impounded, person driving 109, 18 years old, unlicensed driver, another person driving 107.
In 2015, Caitlyn Jenner was involved in an accident that resulted in 1 fatality. Jenner was not charged. This notorious stretch of road chronicled in the documentary 21 Miles in Malibu.
This road was never meant to handle that many people.
This is going to end badly.
The film produced by Michelle Shane, whose daughter Emily was struck and killed on the PCH when she was 13 years old.
She was a really good kid. She was a sweet, kind person who didn't have a mean bone in her body.
I remember when I first moved out here and I was a freshman at Pepperdine, the one thing they sort of tell you is, you know, be careful of PCH. Don't speed, don't run across it, even be careful using pedestrian walks, don't go on the sidewalk.
I mean, you imagine like people going 100 miles per hour and you're supposed to cross that street. Dude, that's fucking, yeah, there's a curve. How are you going to see anybody coming? Like, that's definitely a recipe for disaster right there. You're going to get hurt or worse.
Very cautious of it.
Seniors Asha Weir, Deslin Williams, Neve Rolston, and Peyton Stewart were killed instantly when a BMW plowed into them along the stretch of the infamous highway at 8:30 p.m. on October 17, 2023.
As soon as it happened, I knew exactly what it was. Car accident.
The damage was incredible. The debris pattern was all over the streets. It was
maybe
the worst
Dizzy.
thing I've ever seen in 7 years of working in Malibu and responding to accidents on PCH.
Bridget Thompson lost 4 of her sorority sisters,
Wow.
best friends and roommates that night.
It's heartbreaking. It's hard knowing that my friends' lives stopped in that moment at the hands of him.
Prosecutors say the car, driven by then 22-year-old Frazier Boehm, was speeding at more than 100 miles per hour on Dead Man's Curve. The speed limit was 45. This
Wow.
home security footage shows the car flying by seconds before the crash.
It was avoidable. Speed was the issue.
Now he's been charged with 4 counts of murder and 4 counts of vehicular manslaughter. He's pleaded not guilty and was released on a $4 million bail.
It's disappointing to know that he's walking free and they got their lives stolen from them, and their families have empty chairs at their tables, and their families have to live with this every single day.
See, and you know, I feel bad for her because I know, man, I know what that's like, dude. I know what it's like to like lose somebody. Now, the friend that I lost when I was much younger, similar situation. He ended up in a head-on collision, but it was because he wasn't a careful driver. He was a really good driver, but he wasn't careful. He took risks, and he took risks with people in his car, and it cost him his life and everyone else, literally everyone else who was involved in the accident. And it's because he was going down a road, US 27, towards Homestead, because he was going to coming back from the races. And I guess he was all excited about the races and whatnot. And then he tried to pass somebody on the opposite lane because he was speeding and just used poor judgment, head-on collision, and killed everybody. And he was a really great guy. He just had poor judgment when it came to driving. But I understand losing people, but you know, and you just want someone to be responsible. You want someone to be accountable. You want closure so bad. And she's so young, she doesn't fully understand that there really is no closure and things like that. And you know, she's not gonna, you know, I mean, she's obviously jumping to the conclusion that there are no other variables that could have happened. The guy was speeding and he's responsible, and that's it. You know, and I understand that, but it's also, you know, irresponsible. But she's young and she's hurting, and I get that.
The victims' families are also suing in civil court.
I do believe that he's being charged in the proper way. I trust the prosecution in that, and I do believe that there's consequences for your actions, and this can set a precedent for the future.
What he was doing
Well,
was dangerous,
that-
and he is coming up with excuses as to why the collision occurred.
Prosecutors arguing that Boehm's extreme indifference to human life warrants the charges.
He's been charged with 4 counts of what are known as implied malice murder. It is often applied to traffic accidents, most commonly DUI cases, but you also have speed contest cases with these, you know, 2 fast and furious young guys with fins on their cars will engage in racing.
Come on, man. Come on with that.
What's interesting about this case is there's no allegation that Mr. Boehm was under the influence of drugs or alcohol.
There's no allegations that he was drag racing.
Cannot be treated as malice.
Boehm is being represented by renowned LA defense attorney Alan Jackson.
Frazier Boehm has never been and will never, ever be a murderer. He did not intentionally or with any kind of an implied malice take any lives. This was a tragedy. It's a tragic accident.
Jackson is no stranger to high-profile cases, representing disgraced Hollywood titan Harvey Weinstein and successfully defending Karen Reed after she was charged with murdering her boyfriend, John O'Keefe.
Falsely
becoming a
charged.
media frenzy in the Boston area.
It was corrupted by a lead investigator whose misconduct infected every single part of this case.
In his latest case, Jackson says Boehm was trying to get away from another driver that he viewed as a threat.
He was being harassed on the road. All the evidence points to it, and we intend to show that to the jury too.
Jackson also arguing in court to have the
No,
murder.
he's saying that there's evidence of this. AJ is saying that there is actual evidence that he was being harassed on the road. I'd like to see that evidence. I want to know.
Charges dismissed.
Because if you think about it, that would also give reason as to why he was speeding. If someone's harassing you on the road, you're going to try to get away from them, right? So if he's speeding because he's trying to get away from somebody, that would give some sort of justification, at least to some degree, some justification as to why he was speeding.
Demands that the murder counts be dismissed so that this case can proceed on the proper charges. The charges, the evidence actually supports.
On one hand, the jury is going to see this young man who made a horrific mistake and is on trial for his life. On the other hand, this is a very well considered, well thought.
Yeah, I thought I heard AJ say that on Justice Surf TV. I thought I heard him say that that the other car actually dinged his car, and that's what caused the accident. So if that's the case, then I mean, what's the fucking problem here? What are we doing here?
Prosecution that I believe is properly charged the way they did it.
Boehm had no passengers with him, and neither drugs nor alcohol was a factor, according to authorities and his attorneys. For Bridget Thompson, that October evening 2 years ago started out like a typical college night out. Just minutes away from meeting her friends, she gets stuck in traffic.
Now, I will say,
properly charged, the thought out prosecution that I believe is properly charged the way they did it.
Boehm had no.
Now, the thing is, Lori, thank you so much for becoming a member or being a member for 12 months. Larry DUI guy has gone over pretrial. Okay, thank you. What doesn't hurt this kid at all is that he looks like a fucking movie star. Like, I'll tell you that right now. That's a factor that's not going to hurt this kid at all. If this becomes a high profile case.
No passengers with him, and neither drugs nor alcohol was a factor, according to authorities and his attorneys. For Bridget Thompson, that October evening 2 years ago started out like a typical college night out.
Think about it. No drugs or alcohol in his system. He's just driving home. He's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, he looks like a stand-up kid. He seems like just a stand-up, responsible, you know, cut from a good cloth kid. And that's going to work well for him.
Just minutes away from meeting her friends, she gets stuck in traffic.
It could.
There's a huge accident outside, and all their locations
It could be spun against him for sure. It could be spun against him for sure. Oh, he's spoiled. He's blah, 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 blah. He's entitled. Sure. That could, but the problem is it's going to be hard to argue that when he has a clean record, doesn't get into trouble, probably keeps his grades up, probably involved in extracurricular activities, could be involved in community service for all we know. Who the fuck knows? But I'm saying, if these things are there, if you're going to sit here and try to paint this kid out to be entitled simply because he comes from a nice family, you know, or a successful family, if you're going to paint this kid out to be guilty for that reason, well, then you got a witch hunt. AJ's going to welcome that. AJ's going to be like, oh, this is beautiful. You're just going to judge this kid based on the fact that his parents are successful. Maybe they raised him right. Well, right. People will say that shit. But the thing is Alan Jackson is going to argue why that's ridiculous. You know, that's my point. Alan Jackson's going to welcome that shit. He's going to be like, you're just going to judge this kid based on his family? Okay, let's do that. Let's look at his character. Let's look at his track record. Let's look at his criminal record. Oh, wait, he doesn't have one. Let's look at his grades. Let's look at his record in school. I mean, that's easy.
Here, but they're nowhere to be seen. So I called all of them and none of them answered.
The death shaking the entire Pepperdine community.
The following day after the accident, none of us went to work or did anything. We just stayed with each other, and then Pepperdine, opened its arms to our community, and there was a wake. That night,
Jody.
we were one. We were all one.
I mean, he's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life.
Worshiping and just being together.
In court today, the judge denying the defense's motion to dismiss the murder charges against him. If convicted of murder.
Because if this turns out to be an accident that is completely beyond his fault, if that turns out to be the case, then Alan Jackson is 100% correct in what he said on Justice Serve TV. There are 5 tragedies, not just 4. 5. Why should this kid's life be ruined if all he was trying to do was get away from a road rage driver? And according to Britt Happens here, then we know who the road rage driver is, if that's true. And if he has a history, then he has a history. So why should this kid's life be ruined on top of the other 4 lives that are already tragically lost?
He could spend the rest of his life in prison. Bridget wants her friends to be remembered.
I take them with me wherever I go every single day. I think I'm a different person than I was before I met them. They changed me for the better.
We will continue to follow this story as the case unfolds.
All right. Hold on 1 second here, folks. We got one more thing we're going to go over here.
Spotlight this morning, the young man accused of killing 4 Pepperdine students in a high-speed collision is expected back in court today, and we could hear some witness testimony. Frazier Michael Bohm is charged with murder and vehicular manslaughter for allegedly speeding when he crashed into 3 parked vehicles on California's Pacific Coast Highway, killing 4 sorority sisters. The stretch of roadway is known as Dead Man's Curve. Bohm's lawyer, Alan Jackson, well known for representing Karen Reed, told the judge basically that he needed his client's bond, which is at $4 million right now. They needed it lowered. Take a listen to what the judge said.
There are many, many defendants sitting in the county jail right now who would love me to reduce their bail so they can hire Alan Jackson or other private counsel, but that's not the way it works. If Mr. Bohm cannot afford Mr. Jackson's services, he is free to find other private counsel, or he can request the appointment of the public defender if he qualifies for their services, which, despite being free, is oftentimes excellent.
So Bohm remains free on the $4 million. Today, we could hear from a mystery witness subpoenaed by the defense. You got Alan Jackson in the mix here, and you never know what to expect. This is just pre-trial. Here to discuss, criminal defense attorney Mario Gallucci's back, along with civil attorney Ben Chu. Ben, do you first hear you've got a high-powered attorney like you two guys walking into a courtroom? It makes a difference, and this is a young man, no booze. He's not, intoxicated. He stays, he doesn't flee. but he's going 100 miles an hour at one point in a 45 on PCH. Overall thoughts of the case?
Ted, I think this, obviously the consequences of Boehm's alleged conduct are just awful. 4 beautiful young girls have been killed. I think it is somewhat ameliorating that, as you point out, there's no alcohol, but the conduct to drive over 100 miles an hour in a 45 mile per hour zone, I think it's so egregious. I'm not sure the jury is going to have a whole lot of sympathy for him.
Mario, you agree?
I agree completely with Ben, and I actually tried this case on.
The thing is like this kid, he's in defense of those of you who are saying that him seeming so privileged and everything. I don't think that that's the issue that makes him look bad. Like right now, you see him and he seems completely unworried. He's swiveling in his chair. He seems like he's owning the room. And that is not going to necessarily work for him the way that it worked for Karen Read. And Karen Read didn't even do that. Karen Read was just engaged and giving stink eye to everybody lying on the stand. That was different. But what he's doing is he's coming off pretty aloof. Like he's sitting here and he's just kind of like, I mean, he looks like the villain in a movie like Cruel Intentions. You know what I mean? He just looks that way, That's going to be bad unless AJ tells him, hey, let's get you some glasses and make you fucking sit up straight and keep your hands, right here on top of the table. You know what I mean?
Both sides. As a prosecutor, I tried this case, and as a defense attorney, I tried this case. So if I put on my prosecutor's hat, I would probably say that I would need to put together all of the instances where he completely disregarded human life. Was he familiar with that highway? Was he familiar with that curve? How often did he travel it? He was doing in excess of 100 miles an hour.
Awful.
So his complete disregard for what could possibly happen as a prosecutor is what I would try to do. Has he ever had prior speeding tickets? Does he know, other things, any prior accidents? As a defense attorney, you say, look, this is just an accident. He was cut off.
Let me address, because I can't pass up opportunities like this, folks. Let me read this comment. Nancy Roberts here says, no way Karen was framed. Sorry, I will never believe she was. Listen, you don't have to apologize for being fucking retarded. You're just fucking retarded. If you think that Karen Read was guilty of this crime, you're fucking retarded. I don't care how you feel about her personally. I don't give a shit about how you feel about her dynamic between her and Turtle Boy. I don't give a shit about any of that. The facts dictate, and the facts dictate, the science dictates that Karen Read is absolutely innocent of this crime. And the investigation was so awful that it goes beyond negligence. So yes, I feel that if you don't believe or see why anybody would think that Karen Read is framed, then you are absolutely fucking retarded.
By somebody in a road rage incident. He was trying to get away from him. And as tragic as it is, it's an accident. And, he was speeding. And if you want to give him a reckless conduct, sure. But to charge him with, murder is overreaching and overstepping your bounds.
Ben, he doesn't have any.
The self-awareness. I'm a big fan of it here. We all are. Good on you, Nancy Roberts.
Priors, even a traffic ticket. And the allegation here is that there was another car who did flee that knocked off his mirror, and there was some sort of, whether it was these two were combating together or there was road rage in there. But to your point earlier, the sympathy factor from a jury, I guess jury selection is going to be huge here, because he just looks like the right out of central casting, spoiled, snot-nosed kid that doesn't give a blank about anything but himself, and that's why he's going 100 miles an hour. You need someone who can relate to this kid, and I don't know how many of the 12 that end up getting seated will.
Ted, I think you're absolutely right. I think this proves the cliche cases are won and lost in jury selection. And I think that is absolutely here, because if I'm the prosecutor, which is more Mario's bailiwick.
That's an excellent point right there. This is going to all of this is going to rest, at least right now, where we're at right now, all of this is going to rest on jury selection. Everything like this all depends on jury selection. Jury selection is going to be vital in this case. So yeah, this is a big deal, because dude is not carrying himself the way that he should be carrying himself in court.
In mine, I hit hard on the fact that this is a spoiled rich kid who shouldn't have been driving a BMW. And I actually think that the road rage hurts him. I think it shows an utter lack of concern for people other than himself, an indulgence of his own anger. And again, it fits the narrative of a spoiled rich kid who should get on.
You're judging him based on looking at him, and you're a fucking lawyer, bro. You're judging him based on looking at him in court. Now, I can look at him and be like, a jury's probably not going to like that. But I'm not sitting here going, this is a spoiled rich kid who's entitled, and that's how I see this, and that's it. I need all the facts. I haven't formed an opinion yet. I don't know. I'm presuming innocence only is all I'm doing, because I don't have all the facts. Eventually, I'm going to get the court transcripts. Eventually, I'm going to get everything that's made available publicly as far as court filings go. Eventually, I'm going to get all that stuff, and I'm going to go over that stuff. But right now, we're just kind of getting our feet wet, as I stated earlier. We're just getting an idea of what the facts of the case are, more or less. These aren't even the facts. These are a lot of opinions. So I'm taking everything that I'm hearing here with a grain of salt. Even AJ's shit, I'm taking with a grain of salt. I'm just by default presuming innocence.
With who should be punished more than a mere reckless driving. I mean, the consequences were not only horrific, but they were eminently foreseeable, even to a young man.
Is this gross negligence, Mario? Because that at the end of the day, you're going to get to that point with the charges as they stand. They're significant. They've thrown the book at this kid. How do you get that over, if you're the state? How do you get over that bar of gross negligence to get a conviction?
The speed limit is 40. And he's doing over 100. So you could say, you know, he's doing
all this stuff all this stuff is valid. I need the proof that Alan is saying that there was road rage, that there was another driver, there was another vehicle, and there was road rage. I need that proof. He's saying that I can prove it. We're gonna prove it. I want to see that proof.
50, well, you know, you're doing 10 miles over the speed limit, but he's going over 60 miles over a speed limit at a place that has a reputation for being a dangerous curve, a place that, for all we know, he's driven many times before. He's well aware of the circumstances of the curve and what his speed could do. So that's how you're going to get to gross negligence. And I agree with Ben. I start every single jury selection with this line, that this is the most important part of the trial. You are the people that are going to make the decision here. And this is jury selection 101 right here.
Let's listen to Alan Jackson talking to the judge, basically pleading for the bail reduction. It's at $4 million here. He's floating $2 million. Here's Alan Jackson.
At $4 million, the bond company has.
What's up, Ray from Dallas? Yo, you guys have been noticing things have been a little quiet. Ray from Dallas, his channel has been struck. And so he's got a week in the hot box before he can come out. So a week in the hole before he can come out. So We're just waiting on that to happen, but we're looking forward to seeing Ray's live streams again. You're missed, buddy.
Frozen the collateral from the sale of the family home. The family had to sell their home in order to assist in the defense and try to raise money to build a defense, including experts, which we'll talk about in just a second. That collateral that came from the sale of that home has been frozen by the bond company, literally just on the issue of bail alone, because the bail is at $4 million.
Ben, is the bail excessive here? And is that a valid argument by Mr. Jackson? It didn't work.
No and no. I agree with the judge that everybody's entitled to a defense, but it doesn't have to be a celebrity lawyer. He is certainly entitled to a very aggressive defense, but I don't think anybody's going to cry crocodile tears for the family, you know, having bought this kid a high-powered automobile, which he clearly was not temperamentally or otherwise suited to driving. You have 4 families who will never see their children again. So, no, I think the judge was right.
Mario, you agree?
Absolutely agree. You know, this is a tragic case. You know, he's lucky to be out at all. There are 4 young children.
And I have no way of getting a hold of Ray in Dallas, or Ray from Dallas. Sorry, from DUI guy, Larry. I don't have a way of getting a hold of him because I did that through X, through Twitter. So many people that I was in contact with through X, and I can't now. But anyway, I'm sure we'll cross paths again. That's my boy right there.
That are no longer here. So, you know, most of these cases, you're remanded. There is no bail. So the judge said he's lucky to be out. You know, Alan Jackson, I love him. He's a great lawyer. But, you know, he's trying to, you know, free up money for, you know, defense witnesses and experts and probably his own retainer. But, you know, there's got to be another way around it. I mean, he's out. He's lucky to be out.
Mario, Ben, enjoy your Monday. Thanks for your time as always.
All right. Excuse me. So, yeah, man. This is going to be a short one. Not going to do a full 3 hours today. Just wanted to get our feet wet a little bit in regards to this case. And I definitely want to keep tabs on it, keep following it, because I'm very interested in how it's going to turn out. Because we're all fascinated with AJ's style of defense. And this is an interesting client that he's got here. Because I don't know. I don't know if he, you know, was just speeding or what. And yeah, follow Ray on X. He's still going live on X. So follow him on X. And yeah, so I'm still on the fence about this one. But I am by default presuming innocence. If AJ says that there's a third vehicle, that there's well, not a third vehicle, but a fifth vehicle, technically. If AJ says that there's a road rage person here, then I want to know more about that. So anyways, guys, I'm not gonna open the phone lines today. I'm just gonna wrap it up. Yeah, it'd be great if anybody who has my phone number and is in direct contact with Larry, feel free to give him my number and have him contact with me, just because I want to have contact with Larry, dude. The road rage guy is friendly with the families, huh? That's interesting. Okay. Cat Randall, thank you so much. There was a vehicle that hit Fraser's car first. That is in the transcripts Ari and Larry read. Yeah, see, that's what I'm hearing is, I mean, but that's only a claim. I'm waiting to see the evidence that AJ claims to have, because I want to see that. And I'm not doubting it. I'm not doubting it. I just, people, we're not just all of a sudden going to just abandon our method here of following facts before we form solid opinions. I have not enough facts presented to me to be able to form an opinion. All I can do is give the defendant the benefit of the doubt, because that's what we do here in the meantime. But if it turns out that those 4 young girls should deserve justice by means of this young man being charged, well, then so be it. It is what it is. I just I'm not even near there yet. That's all I'm saying. I'm not even near there yet. This is no different than how I approached the Karen Reed case. The only difference is that I came out of the gate with documents because I had them. I don't have them yet. Once I get the documents, then I will go over those documents. Well, the facts are not in the transcripts. The facts are, if you're telling me those are court transcripts, that means that there's arguments being made. Those are not facts. Those are just arguments being made. I want to see the evidence. So, yeah. But anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out. You guys are absolutely amazing. I really appreciate you guys being here on my YouTube presentation. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Remember, guys, please hit the like. It's free. It really helps me out. Make sure to subscribe, double check, make sure you're still subscribed, and make sure to hit the notification bell so you know when I'm going live. And thank you guys for all the support. You guys are absolutely amazing. I am so grateful to you. I love you guys so much. Make sure to remember that it only takes a second to stay safe. As I said 1,000,000 times, and we'll say 1,000,000 more times, I love you very much, and we will do this again very soon, my friends.
Watch out!
Today, being retarded means leading a full life. Retarded people go to work or school just like their neighbors and come back to a real home, a supervised home, right in the neighborhood, where they belong. Being retarded never stopped anyone from being a good neighbor.